What it do, boo-boo? Friday! Shabbat shalom, y'all. I'm feeling good. I just got home from work. It was really fun. I had a very good day. I got so many fun things done before work. I was so excited, and productive things and creative things. Did some dancing. I hadn't been able to set aside time to really cut a rug in a minute, and that was a good time. It was very busy at the restaurant tonight, but not out of control. And I was in a good section with a good section partner, so that worked out really nice. Yeah, I was happy with the night. I kind of embarrassed myself. It hasn't happened in a while, and so I was thinking this would be good to tell you guys. I kind of embarrassed myself earlier, but not really. So my maintenance guy, I've had this issue with the moisture in the air in my house. And what had happened is somehow the ventilation ductwork came unhinged beneath the house, and it was just sucking air from the dirt underneath of the house. And all this stray insulation and debris and crap, I got sucked up into the system and clogged my coil. And so my air wasn't really conditioning, and the condensation wasn't draining properly. It was just accumulating back in the vintage or the ductwork. And so it had collected all this moisture. And so we've been trying to solve this mystery and get to the bottom of it. We finally had, but it's gone on for a month, so we keep having to take touch base and talk to each other, and we've run into each other at Home Depot by accident, and so now it's we're bonded together. And he texted me today, and he's like, hey, I found a dehumidifier that's not being used, I can come bring it by your house. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm here. And so he came by, and he came to the front door this time, when usually sometimes we just meet up outside, and so it had been a minute, and so he came in the front door to bring the humidifier. And as you guys can see, I have my pole over here, my dance pole. The maintenance guy, he's just this nice guy, southern handyman, and he's coming in, and I'm we're just standing here trying to be polite and talk about the maintenance issue, and but the pole is there, and we're not addressing it and not looking at it, and we're just standing there we are behaving like the pictures of people in pamphlets, just so professional, so polite, not looking over there. And I don't care, but I could tell that he's just oh my God, what's happening? Is she a stripper or something? And so we were discussing the maintenance issue and having him come by and get something or do something at some point. And I just mentioned, I was and I'm standing over here near this because it's across from my front door. And I was just gestured, and I was yeah, well, I work at night. And I kind of gestured over towards the pole, but what I was gesturing at was Germantown, over on that side of town. And then I realized I was yeah, I work nights, and I pointed at the pole, of course, obviously. And I was I'm at a restaurant. Not that there's anything wrong with being a stripper. Nothing. But if you're I'm not, I don't actually, I just suggested that I was when I wasn't. I was taking credit I didn't deserve. But yeah, so I was I was awkward at that moment. And I came into work later, and I was really awkward again. So my coworker, this girl, had been in Germany for a month, and the people at work that travel, they like to come back and bring us delicious foreign candy, which is very exciting. And so she brought us back all of these chocolates and little gummies and things like that. And we were all just happily feasting and gorging on candy before the shift started. So I was hopped up on sugar. I was having heart palpitations. There was a lot of sugar consumed very quickly. It was a frenzy. And so I'm all hyper and, bouncing off the walls. And I'm in this separate dining area that's a little bit quieter from the main room. And so it was earlier in the evening, and there was only like one or two other tables, and it was like I was waiting on this couple who were on a date with their baby, who was like 2, but he was like extremely conversational for 2. I thought he was gonna like either write me a ticket or do my taxes. He was like one of those adult babies who was like fat and he looked like a grown up. So anyway, I'm like talking with this table and trying to be like, you know, light and fun because they're in the quiet room with nobody there yet. And I came back and I noticed that they were having a tough time with their 2-year-old. And the girl was like, "No, tell Daddy, please, may I have the bulldozer? Ask Daddy, please, may I have the bulldozer?" And he's like, "No, I don't want to." And I thought he was about to start having a meltdown, and me and the child had bonded. And so I thought I'd jump in because I'm like really good with kids. And I was like, "Wow, you are so good at talking for your age. Let me hear your words. Show me how you can say, 'Daddy, may I have my bulldozer?'" And then it was like the table just sort of like kind of got weird, and I was like, I felt weird because they were weird, and then I walked away and I was like, what just happened? And I'm like, I just inadvertently called this man Daddy. Like I was like the sister wife, like, "That's right, son, tell Daddy you want his bulldozer." So I left the room, and then after that, it was super painful because you have to, like, to leave the room, you have to, like, go around the corner and down this ramp. So there's no way to, like, look into the room and get a good glimpse to see if you have another table. And it was that weird time of night where you'll get, like, busy, but, like, people will, like, you'll go back to the room and suddenly you'll get, like, 3 or 4 tables. And so I just had to keep, like, checking and to see if I had a table again, other than them. And like every time, like he's facing the door, I have to peek in. So not only did I sort of call him Daddy, but then after that, it seemed as though I were really hyper and obsessively peeking around the corner. Oh my God. Just no. Let me down. Message. We have, okay. I felt the wild unknown archetypes calling me today, and I also am loving just like having an oracle with at least one tarot. Recently, it's just felt like a really great combination to give us a lot of depth and context. And so I thought this was particularly interesting because for years now, a lot of percentage of the time, the cards will suggest that over the weekend we get pensive, we get reflective, which makes sense. You know, it's like that's kind of like Shabbat, Friday to Saturday night, is all about unplugging and winding down and finding stillness and being in that holy, sacred space of quiet, still reflection and study and rest and replenishment. So is Sunday, right? It's just the Sabbath. It's just, we just extended the whole weekend, right? I feel in that. So this weekend is in tradition. We had first pulled the Cave, and then we pulled the Queen of Swords. And so the Cave in this this archetype deck, it talks about, this is the cave inside of your heart. And I found this piece of art so interesting because I don't know how many years ago it was now, but it was a lot of years ago. I had a dream, and it was one of those profound dreams where you wake up and you really remember it. It was very brief, but I had a dream that I was, it was very vivid. It was like it really happened. I was out in deep space, outer space, but I was around some kind of, I was in the orbit of a star, and I was sitting on some like asteroid, like looking at this star, and it was kind of just quiet and dark all around except for the star. It was like a white hot blue star, and I felt the presence of a being or an energy or consciousness next to me. And in the dream, it was like I knew it was like me and God hanging out, and it was like really crazy. And the voice of this, presence or whatever was like, "Do you see that star?" And I said, "Yes." And it said, "That's the star inside your heart." Which was really crazy because like sometime over the last couple of years, I was reading in the Gnostics, and Jesus said something, he kept talking about the star inside your heart. And I was like, whoa, I did not know that this was like a concept talked about. But in the dream, like when I woke up, usually like I feel like dreams are for the most part symbolic. Sometimes though I will have prophetic dreams that are quite literal. And in this case, I actually felt that there was some literal element to it. Like what I was seeing or experiencing was true, but like in mystical proportions true. But I do believe that our heart is this portal where it's so crazy when you think about quantum physics. And when you go down into that microscopic level, the atoms that make up our what seems to be solid flesh, when you are considering them at scale, they are like light years apart. There's like light years of space in between these atoms. Like they're like the distance between planets. When you compare, like when you take into context the size and the ratio or whatever. I remember learning that. I feel like it was like on one of those shows like Through the Wormhole or like the universe, the cosmos. It was one of those like sciencey space shows on Discovery Channel. And it always struck me, and I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. And it's like, even like these symbolic, deep concepts and truths are like, it's like they're mirrored and they're true in every level of reality. Even once we get to like, we're in our physical materialness, down when you go down to the tiniest part of it, it's like it's like we're a reflection, we're a microcosm of the macrocosm of the universe. And so it's interesting to me that when you go smaller and smaller and smaller, it's like we expand into this giant space. And the same is true, I believe, for our heart. As we go deep inside of our heart, there's like this portal that takes us through space-time, and like as consciousness is the vehicle, or as the soul is the vehicle, or whatever. And I think that we can go so far in that we are sort of like set free into this like outer space again. But I do think there's a star inside of our heart, and it wouldn't surprise me if we learned one day that we're like are connected to like a specific star or whatever, each of us. But on some level, I did believe, I was like, wow, there is a star inside my heart. But I believe that if time and space are only an illusion, and I were to like invert in and like go in deep through my heart, I feel like I might be able to connect with an actual star out there somewhere. So anyway, that's a long story to like just kind of wax rhapsodic about this dream that I had, but like it's something that I've always carried with me. And so I do believe that like our heart is like this portal. It's like this bridge. And it's a bridge that connects our consciousness, our soul, to our spirit, the part of us that is connected without disruption, just completely in flow and in contact with the source of all, that pure light, that pure beingness, that pure consciousness. And so I think when we tune in there, we can tune into Holy Spirit. We can tune into the Christ consciousness, because the heart is the Christ center as far as the governing forces of reality that are like laid out, in our soul, the tree of life. But yeah, and so it's funny because there has been, within the last 10 or 12 years, I remember hearing someone talking about how they've started doing, I feel like the company's called Heart Math or something like that. But there was a group or a company that decided to research the heart, and specifically researching the heart as an information processor. And what they found was that the heart was kind of like a second brain in the body, and it had like a consciousness to it and an intelligence, and it helped process information. And so what they found was that the heart would respond to something like moments, like I don't know what they were able to measure the time, but the heart was ahead of the brain and the mind and the consciousness. So it was literally like scientific instruments measuring the fact that the heart is psychic. The heart actually knows before like you are informed by the material world about something. So I thought that was insane and crazy. And also it made total sense. If there's like space-time is an illusion and your heart is like this portal to like, I don't know, other dimensions, then it made sense to me. It also made me think of, I feel like it was John Teeter. So like back in the AOL days of the internet, there was this conversation that started emerging in these different chat rooms with this guy named John Teeter. And John Teeter claimed to be a time traveler from like 2036. And he had come back to the 90s to get this like IBM computer they'd stopped making, and he needed a part for like this thing, and it had to do with like time travel and stuff. And he kind of predicted a bunch of things that were very similar to this timeline. And it's pretty interesting if you go back and like read through the transcripts or whatever. But I remember him saying something about, he like vaguely hinted to the time travel, and he was like, it's not done the way you think it is. It's like, I feel like he hinted that it was something to do with like some kind of psyop thing, or like some kind of psychic thing, or some kind of emotional thing. Like you connect like through yourself. You don't have to go into like a like physically good. I don't know. I can't remember exactly the conversation, but it did make me think of like, from that I bounced off to the psyops program in the U.S. military, who it was like top secret for a long time, but they figured out how to do remote viewing. And so they had like these psychic soldiers who were like doing all of this, like basically like remote viewing was being able to travel somewhere in your mind and gather recon without ever having gone there. It was just like, someone would just make up coordinates and give it to you. Like they'd look at it on a paper, and then like whoever was remote viewing would be like meditating, and then they would have like all this like these visions and information come through, and the military figured out how to do that. So now that we've just like gabbed about the heart and how I think that all ties into the fact that you can like telepathically and like use your heart as, let's just say, like a spiritual technology. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. But the heart is very wise, and the heart there's a lot of action going on there. And so the basic message for today and for the weekend, to me, to sum it up, is basically that the Queen of Swords is known for being wise and discerning. She is wise and discerning because she has been through hell and back. Like this queen has been through difficulties in life. She has had to over and over again make lemonade of lemons. And so she has learned through great difficulty, but she's also like the most witty, the most sharp, the most astute, the most on top of it, the most direct. She's a very good communicator. But the queen can be a little cool, and you kind of have to win her over. She's not like, she doesn't suffer the fools, not for a second. But once you're on her good side, she's like, all right, you're in my realm, you're in my kingdom. And she's like, go fuck yourself. Okay, so discernment is her thing, right? She's a wise discerner. She has that logic, that reason there, but the feminine aspect, the feminine expression of having logic and reason and discernment, right? And being able to tune into the heart. So something that we, like maybe an issue that has been weighing on us, we want to tune in and get guidance about that. And we're going to have to set aside time to sit in quiet and stillness to tap into the inner guidance that we need to find the discernment that we need on this issue. So this weekend is a good time to do this. I know I sat down to like kind of go through some journal prompts that I was like getting ready to do. It was like in To Be Magnetic, I'm doing the unblocking challenge. And so I'm on week 5 of that. And so I just basically opened up the portal to look to see like what the assignment was going to be for the week. And even just doing that, it opened up the portal of the heart. And I had all of this revelation come up, and it was just like, I just started like journaling and dumping it out. And I like put together all of these like realizations about like that related to like early childhood things. And it was insane, but it was like, I wasn't prepared. It just like, the energy was there. The universe was there supporting that. I made the space for it, and it came forth. And it was just like a load off. I felt like $1 million. It was amazing. So just give yourself the space to be quiet, to be still. I mean, you can even go on a walk or something, but do something that gives you space with your own thoughts. You know, you don't even have to be actively thinking, it's like staring at the wall kind of time, where you are doing something that keeps your hands busy if you need to, but like allow the heart to speak to you. You know, allow the mind and the thoughts to settle and quiet so that the heart can speak. And so many people are afraid to go into this cave because they're afraid that they will be engulfed in darkness, in emotion, in uncertainty, in confusion. And the cave is dark and it is scary and you don't know what's lurking there, but there is so much magic there. And, you know, beyond the physical realm, beyond where the light gathers to push through, there is this void, this space, this darkness. And even in this realm, in our physical reality, in order for the light to come into it, there had to be this void, this darkness, this space that was provided, a womb for the universe, for, you know, what was to become our universe to gestate in. So it's this holy sacred womb of a space. And when we go there, when we tune in and put our energy there, it strengthens the force of our heart, and it starts to do healing work, and it puts energy there, and it starts to open the heart. So don't be afraid. The emotional wave that might come up, if something does come up, if you're avoiding emotion, the anticipation and the anxiety around avoiding it is usually worse than the actual like feelings coming through. By all means, if you had like a severe trauma happen that you need to have like deal with this and unpack this with like a professional and, you know, like a psychiatrist or psychologist, like by all means do that. But like just the normal, like, you know, person working on their inner stuff, you know, like don't be afraid, especially if you're new at this and you haven't ever started digging these things up. When you have like this spiritual awakening, like the first time you have it is probably, for me, it just seems like it's the most like ground shaking, quaking, difficult, because you haven't ever been disillusioned to this degree before. And so it's just all very emotional. It's the dark night of the soul. It's a divine storm. And a lot of times it comes along with like many aspects of your life getting ripped out from under you. So it's incredibly painful. It's very frightening. It's very, it can be very uncomfortable because things are very uncertain. But like a lot of times people don't know they're going through it when this is happening, and that's even worse. But if somebody's sitting here telling you like, hey, this is normal, it's going to feel like this, just keep pushing through it, you'll get to the other side of it. It's like, oh, okay, all right, I'm not I'm in unknown territory for me, but like in the grand scheme of things, like I'm not like, you know, going off the deep end, right? So that is comforting. There's something else I had that I was going to say about that. Oh, no, I forgot. It left me. But yeah, you guys. So tune into the heart space. It's gone. But the voice of the Holy Spirit, the voice of your higher self, it'll come through there. All right. And when you are discerning, you can literally like kind of bow your head and get quiet and go deep and sit with yourself in quiet for a minute and take some deep breaths and really put like your literal energy onto your heart and ask a question. Ask the question that you need guidance on, and open yourself up to the most loving answer that's in the highest good for all. Oh, I do remember I was going to say this. An excellent book. I went to Amazon to see if I could put a link in the description box for you guys to go get this book, but they didn't have it available on Amazon. It is on audio, but I always like a physical book. But Megan Watterson's book, Mary Magdalene Revealed, is absolutely amazing. It's very heart-opening. But she is talking about the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and then she's also like throwing in like how it changed her in her life, right? What she took away from it. But the Gospel of Mary Magdalene itself, there's a conversation between Mary Magdalene and Jesus, and this was Jesus when he appeared to her after the crucifixion. When she went to the tomb and he wasn't there, and the gardener, I think is who she thought it was, came up and was like, "Why are you crying, Mary?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" But it was like Christ had appeared to her. And so after this, there's in her gospel, like she's gone back to meet with the disciples, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, tell us what the Savior told you, while he was still here with us, that he never told us, that he told you." Because they acknowledged that like she was his like basically favorite person, she was his favorite woman, like they kissed on the mouth often, like they all like point this out in the beginning. And they're like, "Tell us what he told you." And she was like, "Okay, so when I saw him in this vision, I was like, what is allowing me to see you? Like, how can I see you in this way? Is it like through my imagination, or like, am I having like a hallucinate? Like, how do I see you this way? Is it with my eyes?" And he said, there's some pieces of text missing. And it goes on to say, that there is through the eye of your heart, and there's a Greek word around this, I believe, that Megan talks about it. It's called the nous, I think, and it's the part of the soul that like sees without seeing. But there's like this almost like the third eye kind of thing, but the eye of the heart, very interesting. But it's a lot of that is addressed in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, like the heart that is a bridge to connect, and the people that have passed over, right, that our loved ones, right, we can connect with them through our heart. Like they're never really gone, they're just in a different form, right? So yeah, I thought all that was very interesting, but I highly recommend that book, Mary Magdalene Revealed. And if you don't read that book, like the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, I think it's like 7 or 8 pages. Like it's not very long, but it is really profound. But it's worth reading. And the most interesting part about it to me was that like when she's like, "Hey Jesus, like what's the secret? Like how do we figure this thing out?" And he's like, it's the heart, through the heart, right? So very good, guys. Well, I thought this was going to be a short talk, but it ended up being long, but that's probably because of my embarrassing story, but hopefully you enjoyed that at my expense. Oh, because apparently I'm a stripper who calls people daddy at the table. I could never go back again. All right, you guys, have a good, whatever time of life that you're in now. What is it, daytime, morning, if you're watching me in the morning, if it's a late night for you. It's late night when I make these. All right, y'all be good. Ciao.